What is going on, guys, and welcome to a new video. And today we have one of the most hype kind of releases that I think I've ever seen for Runescape, which is the second front of the Elder God Wars. And the node on front kind of exceeded all my expectations. I thought it was fantastic, and this, if anything, looks even better. So we're going to have a look at some of the footage that they showed during the live stream. We're going to go through the boss. We're going to have a look at the mechanics that they showcased, some of the rewards, and some of the environment and other areas that you can explore. And I have to say, I just think that it looks absolutely amazing. Some of the footage they showed looks fantastic, like the environment, the mechanics of the boss, the way the boss is designed, just all of it seems to be really well thought through. So yeah, we're going to go through all of that kind of stuff. We'll start off with the mechanics, and I can't tell you how excited I am for this release. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start off with a brief overview of the main boss fight, and you can see the on-screen footage at the moment shows kind of the core concepts of how this is going to work. So we have the Archglacor kind of looming ominously in the background, and then there's 5 mages plus Azanandra, all using their kind of focus and energy to hold this boss back. And the idea is that each of the mages, so the 5 different mages, are holding back a mechanic in the normal mode fight, and then Azanandra is holding back the hard mode version of the fight. So in the normal mode version, there's 5 different mechanics, and you can basically toggle the mages on and off to either allow the mechanic to happen or to not allow it. And the way it's been designed is a boss that will teach people the core competencies of PVM, and that you can toggle them on and off in any combination. So you may want to just practice one of the mechanics. You may want to practice 2, 3, 4, 5 altogether, whatever it is. And I think that's a really cool idea. It means that people that are entry level into PVM are not going to get overwhelmed straight away by having to prayer flick and shield swap and do AoEs and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go through each of the mechanics separately and what the core competencies is that they're trying to teach. And then obviously the hard mode version is a beefed up version of that with some tweaks to the mechanics which they didn't cover, and that's toggleable with Azanandra. Now, a couple of just comments on this. So firstly, you have to have defeated the normal mode boss with all 5 mechanics active in order to unlock hard mode. So you can't just jump straight into hard mode. You have to have killed the normal mode boss with all 5 mechanics in solo. So you have to have soloed it. The loot is scalable, so obviously the more mechanics you have active, the better the loot is, and it's almost an exponential curve, they said. So you're going to get way more loot with all 5 mechanics active than you are with just 1 mechanic active. And also, another thing is that deaths are going to be safe in the normal mode kill forever. So it's not just a free death week. The normal mode kills, because this is almost like a training boss, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. It's some of the permutations of the mechanics that you have live will make it easier. But because it's a training boss, the Glacor in the normal mode will not kill you. It will teleport you out of the fight. So it's a totally safe death, and it's safe for Hardcore Iron Man as well. So all of this is just, I think, fantastic for entry-level kind of beginner PVM, teaching PVM, and allowing scalability as well. So when we move into the hard mode version of the fight, that's where things start to get tough. And they're using a Telos style in Rage. They said it's a very similar kind of copy of the Telos style. And the reason that they decided to do that was because Telos is an endgame boss, and they want to get players used to that style of PVMing earlier in the combat journey, which I think makes sense. So the max cap is going to be 4,000 in Rage. It's got a streaking system very similar to Telos, and obviously it drops the tier 95 weapons and only in the hard mode, very similar to Karapak. So that's kind of an overview of kind of the boss and the core aspects of how it works. We'll have a look at the mechanics now and discuss the rewards a little bit later in the video. So the first mechanic we're going to talk about is the Creeping Ice mechanic, and this is actually mechanic 0, so will be always present even if all the other mechanics are toggled off. And this is essentially just to force you into a certain part of the arena or part of the aqueduct where another mechanic is going to happen and force you to deal with it. And essentially that is just so that you can't kind of cheese the mechanic and run to the kind of either edge of the platform to avoid it. It's so that you actually have to deal with it correctly with the proper abilities. So the second mechanic, or the first actual real mechanic, is going to be the minions. So this one, it will spawn 4 different minions, 2 mage, 2 range. And essentially this is teaching core competency of kind of target cycling, changing the kind of main target that you're attacking, and then also dealing AoE damage. So the second competency is going to be the Pillars of Ice, or the second mechanic is going to be Pillars of Ice, and this is where 2 pillars are going to spawn, and they will follow you around the boss fight at the pace of a crawl pace, which is half a game tile per tick. Essentially, this is teaching you to avoid specific mechanics and run around the room, whilst also dealing damage to the boss. The pillars will damage you, and they will also rapidly drain your prayer, and they said about 8 to 10% per game tick, so definitely going to want to avoid these. So they didn't have any footage to share of the third and fourth mechanics, but I'm going to discuss those quickly now. So the first one is called Flurry, and essentially this teaches prayer flicking and reading the animations correctly so that you can nullify that damage. So it's going to switch between 2 different damage types, with higher damage, whichever one it's using at the time. I'm guessing it's probably going to switch between mage and range. Most likely it could be all 3, as it is with Raksha, but my guess is probably mage and range. And essentially, if you get the prayer flick correct, you'll get an even greater damage reduction, as you would with the current damage reduction system. So you'll get 15% on top of whatever you would get in the way that the game is kind of playable now. So essentially it's rewarding you for getting those prayer flicks right. And then the fourth mechanic is called the Exposed Core. So on screen at the moment, you should be able to see kind of the core of the Glacor, and this is like the really cold center of it. And essentially what happens is the Glacor almost collapses onto you, bringing you really close to that core, and you'll start to take rapid damage. And they said basically you want to be out of there within 10 seconds. You can survive it for about 20, but you want to be out within 10, so it's going to be scalable damage that scales up very quickly. And this is teaching, rapid DPS and survival. And essentially what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to DPS really hard on, I think it said the arms or like the ribs of the Glacor, which will allow you to break out and get away from that core. So I've saved the best mechanic to last, and this is the Frost Cannon attack, and oh boy, they have absolutely outdone themselves on this animation. It looks so sick, and the core competency that they're trying to teach here is shield switching and either resonancing, reflecting, or barricading, kind of something to mitigate that damage. They said that with most of the mechanics active, so 4 or 5 mechanics active, this attack will one-shot you. So you're gonna want to get that resin. The reason that I said reflect is I'm expecting that you could do reflect res, which will reflect a 10k hit back to the boss as well. So this just looks stunning, and I cannot wait to see this in game. So we're going to move on to the rewards now, and the first one that we're going to talk about is that it's going to drop some sort of craftable item that is used as like a core component to craft everything, and it's going to drop these in high quantities. So the reason that they're dropping in high quantities is that they can kind of scale that well with the different amount of mechanics that you have live. So they said it was going to be in the factors of like thousands in terms of how many you need to use to craft certain items. So the first one that we've got is this kind of wing slot item. They did confirm as wing slot, which means you can use it with a cape, and this kind of hovers behind you as opposed to being actually attached to you. I think it looks pretty cool, and I can imagine some like nice fashionscape in terms of being able to craft this and use this. So the next one we're going to look at is kind of the tier 95 weapons and also the pet. And again, I think they've outdone themselves on the visuals of this. Now there's obviously, you can see the guy has got kind of the wings, or the character model has got the wings on in this screenshot here. So we're wielding the tier 95 weapons from the hard mode version of the boss. You can see the pet, and then there's also some like ice themed cosmetics as well. I don't know whether these are in game at the moment. I am not really up to date on like all the cosmetics, but I am going to assume these are also probably going to be craftable with the update, or a drop for the update or something on release. But yeah, you can see the ice, the tier 95 is like the ice theme, and I like that they're actually different, like the very different main hand and offhand, and they've got this kind of bone dagger almost type feel to them. And I believe the pet is going to be called Gladys. I don't have a confirmation on that, but the image on the main website is titled like Gladys Pet or something along those lines. So that's going to be some of the main rewards. They also talked about tier 85 version of the weaponry, which is then upgradable to tier 95 with the drop from the hard mode boss. So the tier 85 weaponry is going to come from the normal mode of the boss, and that's going to be craftable with a drop from the boss, as well as this kind of secondary ingredient that is dropped consistently from the normal mode version and the hard mode version. That craftable element that I talked about. And so on screen now we've got all of the dyed variations of the new tier 95 weaponry. I believe that the ice dye is the one on the right, and that the normal version, or the normal one, is the one on the left. And then obviously we've got the third age, blood, barrows, and shadow. And again, some of these just look so good. Like the third age, they've gone with a different approach this time, where the blade is black as opposed to the handle being black. I actually quite like it. I think it's got this kind of again, it even makes it look more like sort of this really bone daggery effect. And I do quite like the blood ones as well. So that's going to be our very, 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 very long-term goal in terms of getting some of these dyed weaponries. But yeah, they just look so good. I just want to kind of iterate this. So the tier 85 weapon is going to be dropped by the normal mode, or a component will be dropped by the normal mode. This is then craftable with this craftable element, and then the tier 85 is upgraded to tier 95 with a drop from the hard mode boss. So the final thing I'm going to touch on is just on the kind of global area and what else is in the front. And yeah, once we've talked about that, I'm just going to leave a couple of screenshots of some really awesome kind of screenshots that I grabbed out of the footage from the stream. But yeah, this is kind of the main area, and there's going to be Glacors. So as you remember them from Ritual of the Marjorat, except you can kill these off without having completed the quest. And they've obviously had their visuals updated. The old ones have had their visuals updated as well. And then there's also these like mini glacites, which require 84 Slayer to kill. They're going to be, they said that they're basically, there's a lot of them. They're kind of AoE-able. And the special ability given to you by Hellweir as part of the front is like an AoE mushroom ability. And they didn't really give too much information about these, other than that clue scroll hunters are going to like them. So I'm expecting good drop rates, or better drop rates probably, on elites, since we already have kind of hellhounds for farmable hards. So yeah, I'm guessing that elite clue scrolls are going to drop in better quantities or more frequently from these glacites. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that they covered in the pre-release video. As I said, I tuned into this live, and it was just like they did a really, really good job of covering it. The visuals were great, the commentary was great, they covered loads of information, and I really like this style of live stream. And I also like the fact that they're kind of, it's a training boss, so they've given us information on the mechanics, which is good. Normally, I would prefer for the mechanics to be kind of hidden until you get into the actual boss fight, but in this scenario, they've definitely made the right decision in sharing that. And also, we've got the hard mode that's going to have a few surprises for us, which adds that mystery in there as well. So overall, just like really, really good job. Well done to everyone on the team that's developed, designed, worked on this. Like, can't say how excited I am for this. Hope you all are as well. And yeah, I hope you found this video enjoyable, useful, and I hope you're kind of looking forward to this. Smash the like button if you can't wait for this. Put your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy this new front.